Welcome to our podcast on The Denial of Death by Ernest Becker. Today, we'll be discussing the top 10 most important lessons from this book and exploring each lesson with a story from the book. Lesson 1. Humans have a unique ability to conceive of their own mortality, which creates a fundamental conflict between our desire for self-preservation and the knowledge that we will inevitably die. In the book, Becker writes about a young girl who experiences a profound realization of her own mortality while lying in bed one night. She becomes aware of the fact that one day she will die and is filled with a sense of dread and anxiety. This realization is what Becker calls the terror of death, and he argues that it is a universal experience that shapes our behavior and psychological development. Lesson 2. The fear of death drives much of our behavior and psychological distress, and can lead to the development of cultural worldviews and beliefs that offer symbolic immortality. Becker argues that our fear of death motivates much of our behavior, including our pursuit of power, fame, and material possessions. He tells the story of Napoleon Bonaparte, who was driven by a desire for greatness and immortality, and who waged wars and conquered nations in pursuit of his goals. Lesson 3. The pursuit of power, fame, and material possessions is often motivated by a desire for symbolic immortality and an attempt to escape the reality of our mortality. Becker also tells the story of the ancient Egyptians, who built elaborate tombs and monuments to ensure that their memories would live on after death. He argues that this pursuit of symbolic immortality is a common human response to the fear of death. Lesson 4. The self is a psychological construct that emerges from our attempts to reconcile our animal nature with our symbolic immortality, and requires constant reinforcement and validation. Becker argues that the self is a fragile construct that requires constant reinforcement and validation. He tells the story of the philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche, who struggled with his own sense of self and who wrote about the need to create a superhuman self that could transcend the limitations of mortality. Lesson 5. The cultural worldviews and beliefs that offer symbolic immortality are often reinforced through systems of authority and coercion, such as religion and politics. Becker argues that cultural worldviews and beliefs are often reinforced through systems of authority and coercion, such as religion and politics. He tells the story of the Spanish Inquisition, which used torture and violence to enforce its beliefs and to suppress any dissent. Lesson 6. The denial of death can lead to a failure to appreciate the present moment and a lack of engagement with life, as well as a failure to recognize the interconnectedness of all living beings. Becker argues that the denial of death can lead to a failure to appreciate the present moment and to a lack of engagement with life. He tells the story of the American businessman who is so focused on achieving success and accumulating wealth that he fails to appreciate the beauty of the natural world around him. Lesson 7. Acceptance of our mortality can lead to a deeper appreciation of life and a greater sense of connection to others. Becker argues that acceptance of our mortality can lead to a deeper appreciation of life and a greater sense of connection to others. He tells the story of the Buddhist monk who finds peace and contentment through his acceptance of impermanence and his recognition of the interconnectedness of all living beings. Lesson 8. The fear of death can also lead to destructive behavior, such as aggression, violence, and war.